Mikele, merhabalar. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm the interpreter. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Okay. Good. What is ICLE? Sorry, I'm not very familiar. Ah, okay. Cool.
I'm very sorry. Mr. Arıkan, can you hear me? Hello?
Sorry, Arikan, did you hear maybe the translator speaking? Because they say, can you please go to the English channel? So maybe he's
we would like to
can you hear me? Hello?
Is it okay? I'm now in the English channel.
Yes, please, because the technical people told me that you should go to the English channel that writes English. Can you hear me, Mr. Rumiz and Mr. Arıkan? Right,
yes.
Okay, very good. So
and you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Can.
Şimdi İngilizce kanaldan konuşuyorum. I'm speaking on English channel. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, very good. Yeah, they can hear me on English channel. İngilizce kanaldan beni duyabilir. Hello, Mr. Olivetti. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Olivetti. He's not there. Hello, Mr. Di Franceschi, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, Mr. Di Franceschi, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Peter Di Franceschi, can you hear me? Can you please go to the English channel?
Evet, duyuyorum. I hear you. Doğrudur. Tabii ki. Tamam. Evet. Tamam. Ben zaten önce bir genel setup'ı anlatacağım. Bunları söyleyeceğim. Ondan sonra da bir açılış konuşmasından sonra başkana vereceğim sözü. Tamam. Tamam. So Hı. Hı. Soruları bana kim gönderecek? Bir onu bak. Bir de konuşmaların süresini takip ederken birileri yardımcı olursa iyi olur. Tamam. Güven arıyor şu anda. Tamam. Efendim Güven. Okey. Tamam, WhatsApp'tan yani ben ama bu chat box'ta göreceğim galiba soruları. Aynen. Tamam. Ben hemen duyurmuyorum. Sizlerden sinyal bekleyeceğim. Hangisini söyleyeceğiz, hangisini kabul edeceğiz diye. Okey. Kolay gelsin. Ne zaman başlayacağız? Tamam. Teşekkürler. Yayında değiliz daha, değil mi? Merhabalar. Merhabalar Neptune Hanım.
Merhabalar.
So I guess all the speakers are here. Is that correct? Well, when shall we kick off? Can you guide me?
Let's start, Yunus.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're connected. Welcome to the session hosted by Izmir Metropolitan Municipality in collaboration with İKLE Local Governments for Sustainability, entitled the .500 members committed to sustainability, one of them being Izmir Metropolitan Municipality. I'm delighted and honored to facilitate this impressive lineup of speakers and the dynamic discussions in a very important topic with distinguished guests. I will try to help you in the next hour. A couple of housekeeping information before we go into the substance. So today, this session is held on a virtual platform on Zoom, and all attendees are invited to choose one of the interpretation channels, either English or Turkish. That you can see it at the bottom of your screen. It says interpretation or çeviri. Please don't forget to choose the right option for yourself. Unfortunately, the speakers also have to choose one of them. So even though I'm a proud member of İzmir Hemşeri, being in Gurbet for a long time, I would like to address you in Turkish, but I would stick to the colleagues, the guidance of the technical colleagues, that I will lead this session in English. But with all due my respect to my fellow İzmir Hemşeris, welcome to all. A couple of more points. This session will be also interactive to the extent possible. There will be a chat box. Participants can type questions together with the secretariat. We will try to channel your input to the discussions as much as possible. We will have a session in 3 parts. It will be a 1-hour plenary with 8 speakers. Then we will split into 2 breakout groups. And then the breakout groups, after 1 hour, there will be a joint discussion at the plenary as well. All these will be in Turkish and English, so you will be guided accordingly. For the plenary speakers, which will start in a couple of minutes, we will have 8 speakers in total. One of the speakers will address the pre-recorded video from the World Bank due to time zone differences. I assume we will have 2 presentations, but all the others will be intervening also verbally, as far as I know. I would also encourage all of us for maximum flexibility to make a smooth transition among all the speakers as much as possible. Without further ado, I would like to focus on the discussion today. First of all, we are delighted to be hosted by İzmir. İzmir is well known to be the pioneers and the unique firsts in Turkey and globally. A couple of months before, in April, İzmir has released the first Green City Action Plan and Sustainable Energy Climate Action Plan in Turkey. This was a remarkable achievement. On the same days, İzmir also hosted on the Water Manifesto and Water Summit with 20 plus mayors from across Turkey, with a remarkable commitment for sustainability and water as well, connecting to agriculture. İzmir is prepared to present the first volunteer local review of Turkey. Again, another major achievement and demonstration of leadership on sustainability. And we will discuss more about today. Just a couple of days ago, Izmir became the Citaslov metropole, first of its kind in the world and in Turkey. So Izmir also being a member of İKLE, we are proud to support and follow the leadership of İKLE. Especially we commend the leadership of the city and the staff in these difficult times of the past 2 years that has been experiencing numerous disasters. But despite all these challenges, the city is committed for sustainability, as we have seen. And this event is in fact one of those, because this meeting is part of a global dialogue series led by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the UN Secretary General's Initiative. In fact, today is also remarkable because today is also known as the World's Desertification Day. So it's a fantastic contribution to this global mobilization and observance. And obviously, while we, of course, commend the staff and all the partners of this process, we have to particularly express our gratitude to Mayor of İzmir, because it all starts with the leadership, also political lead level. Mayor of İzmir has been a champion of sustainability for a long while. I have been familiar with him for the past 10 years or so. He is also member of the Global Executive Committee of İKLE, Local Governments for Sustainability, among many other initiatives. But in the Food System Summit, he's also one of the members of the Champions Network. He will also be leading the voice of cities in the biodiversity negotiations. He's a member of the advisory board of local governments. This is also important because a couple of years later, the biodiversity summit will also come to Turkey. So we will be looking forward to his leadership. So with all these introductory remarks, I don't want to spend too much of your time, but I would like to inform now, we will have welcome remarks and introductory remarks from Neptune Sawyer, Mayor of İzmir Metropolitan Municipality. It will be followed by the Secretary General of Citaslov International, Mr. Pier Giorgio Olivetti. Afterwards, we will have additional remarks from Erinç Şahan, the CEO of the World Fair Trade Organization, Neptune Sawyer, the President of İzmir Producers Cooperatives Union, Steven Schonberger, the Regional Director of World Bank. Actually, it is the one that will be recorded, so we will watch his video. Peter De Franceschi, my dear colleague from İKLE, representing İKLE's food systems program. He's also the head of Brussels office. He's connected from Brussels now, but he's from Italy as well. Makiko Yanagiya, distinguished colleague from program coordinator from Satoyama Initiative. I'm delighted to also meet with her. Michele Rumiz, program coordinator, Slow Food International, will be our last speaker of the first hour. With this, once again, I'd like to now invite Mayor Sawyer to deliver his welcome and opening remarks, and commend you and once again his leadership in convening this summit, but also all of the sustainable efforts across İzmir and the world and Turkey. Thank you, Mayor Sawyer. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, my dear hemşeri, my dear Yunus, my dear friend. Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to come together with you at this summit held in partnership with FAO and İKLE. In this meeting, which aims to share the experiences of local stakeholders, I will explain to you what kind of agricultural policy we follow in İzmir as being compatible with nature within the scope of fighting against poverty, which is also the subject of this meeting. In Turkey, as in the rest of the world, a policy of standardization has become dominant in agriculture, in which small producers have become unable to produce with each passing day. The local producers, who could not compete with the global giant companies, had to leave their lands and start to migrate to the cities as a cheap labor force. In order to reverse this trend, we started to form and implement the agricultural strategy of İzmir within the framework of our vision called Another Agriculture is Possible. Thus, we started to take decisive steps to provide solutions to the problems in this agricultural sector, where approximately 1.5 million citizens earn their living. We implement a local policy to grow the prosperity of these lands by increasing the income of farmers and to facilitate the access of everyone living in Izmir to healthy and sustainable food. The most basic feature of the agriculture of Izmir is to combat poverty on one hand and to protect nature on the other. There are two fundamental differences that distinguish the agriculture strategy of Izmir from the agricultural policy implemented in Turkey so far. The first is the focus of combating drought, and the second is poverty. The reason why we focus on these two issues is very clear. In recent years, the negative effects of the climate crisis have become felt in every moment of life and have created a serious drought threat. As a matter of fact, drought was felt intensely all over Turkey last year. On the other hand, the economic problems in Turkey have deepened with the global pandemic, and millions of citizens have begun to fall into the clutches of poverty. The policies to be implemented with agriculture of Izmir offer very valuable solutions in the fight against these two fundamental problems. With your permission, I would like to expand on these two issues more. In the fight against drought, we give priority to rain-fed agricultural products that do not need irrigation or that can be grown with reduced irrigation. In other words, instead of products that consume a lot of water, encouraging strategic products in accordance with the climate conditions of our region, that is our nature. For example, instead of silage corn, which consumes a lot of water and is not suitable for the climate of Izmir, we encourage heirloom forage crops that are suitable for the climate of this region, such as gambilia, wetching, and sedge rye, which are grown with natural rainfall. So we aim to reduce the water used today in agricultural irrigation by at least 50%. Most of the 50% we want to save is achieved through basin planning. That is, by planting the right crop in the right place. And for the rest of the 50%, we are using modern techniques instead of flood irrigation. Izmir Metropolitan Municipality has a great determination to reduce the agricultural water use rate by half in partnership with all the stakeholders of the agricultural sector, especially the producers in Izmir. So we increase both agricultural productivity, production, and profitability. We also make it possible to protect our farmers and millions in our city against drought, to develop our pastures in a healthier way, and to securitize our drinking water resources. Moreover, there is no need for huge investments and large sums of money to achieve these goals. For our aim of fighting poverty, we plan agriculture as a process that starts from the seed stage and extends to the end consumer, including all the processes of the agricultural sector. This new policy covers a multidimensional process from planning the product pattern in agriculture to logistics, branding, sales, export, and training activities. The reason why Izmir Metropolitan Municipality has a whole policy that includes all of these stages is to make it possible for our farmers to earn their living in their birthplace. We do not only support the farmer with our assistance, such as purchase guarantee or machine support. At the same time, we equalize the conditions in the unfair competition of small producers against giant companies that receive great incentives, supports in the global system. In other words, we are building a multi-layered support and regulation system starting from the pattern of the product that our farmer will produce. to the processing of this product, increasing its added value, branding, transportation, and selling it in national and international markets. By planning sales and marketing from the beginning, we increase the added value of the local products that the farmer will produce in this global system. We bring small producers to a level that can compete with large companies, increase their welfare by ensuring that their labor is rewarded. And so we fight poverty as a whole. In the milk processing factory we establish in our district, we will purchase sheep, goat, and buffalo milk from local producers as of the beginning of next year and process and brand it in our factory, which will have a daily milk processing capacity of 100 tons. The excessive use of water and too many chemicals during agricultural process is a problem not only for Turkey, but for the whole world. Therefore, the demand for these strategic products, which are both respectful to nature and protecting human health, is increasing in the world's agriculture and food market as in Izmir. As we all know, the Green Deal is precisely designed for this purpose. Therefore, with the advantage gained from this, we are producing the products of agriculture of Izmir not only for the domestic market, but also for export, especially for the upcoming Green Deal regulations. Izmir has recently become the first Chittaslow metropole in the world, which we are very proud, and which is only a beginning and first fair trade town of Turkey. These two international networks, Chittaslow and fair trade, will help growing our market and show us the right way to combat poverty and protect nature better. In order to achieve this, we are working with crucial organizations such as Izmir Commodity Exchange, Izmir Chamber of Commerce, and Aegean Exporters Association and our fair company İzfaş, which are working on this subject in Izmir. İKLEİ, the co-organizer of this dialogue summit, and Slow Food International are other key partners of us to implement our strategy. In a nutshell, Izmir Metropolitan Municipality not only gives a purchase guarantee to the farmer, but also puts the sales guarantee on its agenda. Our most important target in this sales guarantee is export. Fairs organized by İzfaş will enable manufacturers to meet with buyers around the world. In this context, we will make it possible for small producers to become direct exporters with our international fairs, such as OliveTech, Turkey's only olive and olive oil fair, Ecology İzmir, Turkey's only organic products fair, and Terra Madre Anatolia, which will be held for the first time in Turkey. With the agriculture of Izmir, we are growing Anatolian agriculture, again in the homeland of wheat, sheep, goat, cattle, pears, cherries, grapes, figs, olives, and many more fruitful products. I must proudly express that next week we are opening the İzmir Agriculture Development Center in Sasalı, which will be the base of our agriculture program. In this respect, I fully believe that our meeting today will contribute greatly to the development of nature, positive food systems to combat poverty, and will form a very important basis for the Food Systems Summit that will take place in September 2021. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who contributed and greet all participants with love and respect, and thank you again for all who participate this summit.
Mayor Sawyer, a big applause. I can imagine from all the audience that you're receiving.
Thank you.
Maybe you may not hear, but you are probably seeing it. And actually, this is that we also making us very happy, because it's Izmir connecting all these networks, organizations that you are referred to in this panel, and then the outcomes will be communicated to the world. And I was also particularly, the more I heard and listened to you, I was aware of many of those efforts from Izmir and your leadership, but the more I'm impressed that how holistic work is the key of the success in Izmir. As we have seen multiple crises, from COVID to disasters, from climate to poverty, what you are now trying to or implementing in Izmir and making this connected to the global UN process, I think will be a golden opportunity for all of us to replicate that. It is not limited to Izmir, but also it will serve to the rest of the world. I assume you may be staying a couple of more minutes with us.
Sure.
So if there is any questions, I will try to convey this, but without further losing too much time, we would now hand over the floor to a great partner of Izmir and all the volunteers and experts on sustainability, on food systems, which is Citaslov International. Mr. Olivetti just joining us, I assume from your headquarters in Italy, if I'm not wrong. And that is the beauty of these new virtual opportunities, that we can connect much more effectively in a very climate-friendly but also very interactive way. So, Mr. Olivetti, we are eager to hear your intervention on behalf of Citaslov, please.
Thank you, dear Chairman, Mr. Arikan. Dear Mayor Neptune Sawyer, our great Vice President of Citaslov International. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity and for your attention. Let me introduce in short our organization. I represent Citaslov International, as you said, an association of around 300 city mayors and their communities of citizens in 31 countries that faces today's challenges by promoting positive slowness with correctness and balance. We are towns, areas, and we are represent territorialization, the territorialization of good principles of sustainability against poverty and against social injustice. Agriculture is one of the key sectors for good living of today and tomorrow. Talking about the primary sector means talking about critical issues, such as social injustice, the risk of new slavery, neo-colonialism, but also of innovation and solutions to be adopted in communities at global level. Oh, agriculture is the challenge for the new era, Neptune Sawyer says. Three themes that I bring to your attention today, in short. One is agrobiology and agroecology. The second, the value of the local products and the work of the land. Third, supporting committee. Okay, we have the first, agrobiology and agroecology. We have inherited, you know, pollution from the current paradigm of intensive production, as well as loss of biodiversity, impoverishment of the soil for the years, and since the 2011, I remember, you remember all the agroecology UN report by Oliver de Schutter. In Citaslov areas, we are working on projects to improve the sustainability of agricultural and food production. The aim is to create an agro-system which depends on chemicals, products, and fossil fuels as little as possible. These methods help cultivation to adapt to climate change, reduce the need of water by 30% and more, and energy cost by 60%. We must increase the value of small-scale agriculture and vegetable gardens, as well as agricultural conservation methods again. We applied agricultural practices friendly to man and the planet in the countryside, but today also in the big cities, as we are doing in the Citaslov Metropolis pilot project coordinated by Izmir. Here, we will just list a few guidelines in Citaslov. First, it plants productive trees, chestnut, apple, nut, elder, etc., which absorb anhydride carbon emissions, etc. Obviously, the plantation must be as native as possible to the area. Promote the local food production. provide incentives to local production, which are able to shorten the production distribution value chain. Experiment with the principles of permaculture. Second issue is the value of the local products and the work of the land. It is important. It is the role of farmers to save the planet, in short. Cheetah's Law is at the forefront to promote the quality and wholesomeness of food for all and to promote food sovereignty as much as possible. Cheetah's Law promotes the limitation of the space of largely multinational industrial productivist economy that reduce food to a simple commodities. All of us know that. In favor of the expansion to a production network of clusters of small local productions and new forms of promotion marketing of traditional and biodiverse products produced in each territory. It is a global battle. An illuminating example among many that we have in Cheetah's Law is that of exchange of local seeds in Turkey, in Izmir as in Seferihisar, and in the 19th Turkish Cheetah's Law, an ancient tradition which fortunately lives on even today. It could seem a little things, but at the contrary, it is a milestone. Food industry doesn't meet the real food needs of local population. An example is the experience of the Cheetah's Law of Pijao, Colombia. From 2016, please here, Pijao Quindío region, Latin America's first Cheetah's Law, coordinated by Monica Flores, that we, yes, the picture, she is in Terra Madre. Pijao resist, but it is witnessing an invasion of planting hundreds of hectares of avocado monoculture. Lands that were previously cultivated by coffee or small producers are now controlled by global consortium of avocado. Often here, global corporations impoverish more and more Pijao and the surrounding towns that grow food or coffee. They poison water, life, food with pesticides such as fipronil or glyphosate, which use it not regulated or controlled. The cafeteros, the coffee producers group in Pijao Cheetah's Law, are united for improving the value of their high quality production, coffee of mountains. Cheetah's Law supports the small production of local producers with projects in support of promo marketing and local markets promoted globally. Look, the square of Greve in Chianti, but also the Memetic, Cheetah's Law in North Cyprus, or Naramata in Canada. There are many, many examples. Square or municipality market area by Cheetah's Law for little producers. It is so important. And so we encourage proximity trade, defending the tradition of the market in the square, but also the social relationship, not only Amazon. Make small local quality agri-food production known in the world using IT. It's important at another level. See the project short chain producers, consumers, the Cheetah's Law market, and the collaborative project made in Cheetah's Law. The showcase of small farmers and artisan producers without elitism. 3 chapter is supporting communities. Cheetah's Law promotes specific community investment by supporting food system entrepreneurs in developing countries, transfer know-how, promotes local administrative capacity building. We would today emphasize financial education, collective governance and decision-making, and supporting the individual and whole community toward community wealth building and sustainable future. The example of Matambo Cheetah's Law, north of Mozambique in the Tete province, is very informative. It is a pilot project to create a food subsistence system for the entire community of Matambo, starting from the experience we are currently carrying out in the Aldeia Dignity, the village of dignity. Process starts with the production of raw materials appropriately transformed to promote local autonomy and avoid as much as possible the purchase of industrial products that contribute to the pollution of the place and increase the cost for waste disposal. Food waste will be used to produce compost to fertilize the land, so as to reduce the impact of waste on the environment, as well as being a source for nutrition for the microorganisms necessary for soil fertility. It's a positive circular level. A structural intervention strongly linked to and preparatory to development of agriculture and livestock is the construction of a community wells and or rehabilitation of existing water distribution structures by the Dignity Italia coordinated by Emanuela Bonavolta and Mozambique Association. It is part of the Città project. The multifunctional agricultural and social project provides for the startup through individuals, families who will then join in a cooperative. Protected vegetable gardens, chicken and goat farms, improving, for example, the chain of Malambe yogurt and cultivation of papaya, tomato, pine nuts, baobab fruit and sweet potatoes are in the work. It's a mix of indigenous knowledge and new tech solutions, easy to use. That is. Sorry for my speedy festina lente, said the ladies, but too many things to explain. But it is only enlightening example, practical example, because Città is very operational. Okay, theoretical ideas and principles, but overall, mayors and people and stakeholders. Conclusions. And I go to the end. Città innovation by tradition. Consider Città as a civic education of citizens of tomorrow. Città everywhere encourage the training of citizens who are more aware and informed about their rights and aware of the importance of the production-consumption chain. For this, we invest first of all in schools of all levels. Citizens of the present and future in countryside, as well as in the neighborhoods of the large metropolis, such as Izmir, desire health and quality of life. And Città offers methodical path already tested for the resilient, easy living. To change the agri-food market from a low-cost, low-quality, not wholesome offer, environmental and social unsustainability, and aim for products which more high economic value, resilient and respectful of local biodiversity, fighting the poverty and social inequality. We need a pact within a community. Whatever it is, a village or a neighborhood in a big city, is the same, no problem. In 10 minutes, I cannot explain more, but I believe that examples were enlightening. Oh, agriculture, you know, it's a challenge of the new era. And Tunç Sawyer, my friends, said before, land degradation and drought, talking of incomes, billions of people. As Città we are doing something. The slow direction contribute to solve with Slow Food Teach too. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks to Tunç for the great theoretical and practical work he does in his city, but also around the world. Slow down.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Olivetti. I think this meeting, it was definitely the first, but let's hope it will not be the last. Therefore, we could increase these interactions. And personally, as also from ICLE, we were always following Città via Seferihisar when Mayor was a member of ICLE in 2013. And now he's taking the baton to İzmir. And we will be hopefully also looking forward to this exchanges of collaboration with the members and the ICLE members. Our members is also diverse. So the multiplication effect, I think, will be the challenge we would do. And one example, let me give concretely, my colleague Peter will probably address it, but Quelimane, which was on the map that you have shown in Mozambique, is the mayor, is the member of ICLE's Global Executive Committee. He's the Resilient Cities portfolio holder, and he just hosted in April one of those food summits dialogues. And together with Mir Sawyer, they are part of the Champions Network. So with your experience in Matambo, I think that would be a fantastic bridge on the way towards making these experiences wider, reaching out to billions of people across the world. So we are very happy to hear your interventions, and once again, congratulations your efforts. So without now further delays,
so
I would like to continue our next speaker, which is another hemşehri of İzmir, I guess, from the world, Erinç Şahan. I haven't met him before, but it's a proud for me also to connect to our colleagues, expats and messengers or ambassadors of İzmir across the world. Erinç will be giving us the information about the experience of and the collaboration of World Fair Trade Organization across the world, but also, I assume, one of the partners of İzmir in this process. So, Mr. Şahan, Erinç Şahan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes,
No.
we can hear you. No, we
I
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Fact that that's the result we've ended up with.
Gerçek elimizdeki sonuç da bu zaten. Şu an dünyada
richest 1% own as much wealth as the rest of humanity. So something is fundamentally broken in the way we distribute the value that is generated in our economy. And agriculture is at the absolute heart of this. It is where the majority of the world's poorest and hungriest people are. And again, almost as a perverse observation, 1 in 8 people who go hungry, the majority of these are in rural agricultural settings. The people who are growing our food, that are feeding the world, are the people who are also hungry. And that is maybe perhaps the most alarming reason why we need to reform and transform the systems behind global agriculture. So in reaction to this, what is fair trade? At its heart, fair trade is a set of 10 principles. It's a way that we do business and we do trade that enables sustainable and fair conditions for people who make the things that we consume, whether it's fashion products, homeware, food products, beverages, where it's almost irrelevant what the product is, but the way that we produce and the way that we trade those things are what will lead to us being within the global ecological boundaries and give people dignity in the way they produce. As a result, these 10 principles can be quite specific. They talk about paying 50% upfront when an order is placed. They talk about having long-term commitments to producers, to suppliers around the world. And this is all in stark contrast to what's happening in the mainstream economy, where global firms are paying 180 days after delivery of products, forcing farmers, producers, workers, enterprises into huge debt. This is where they're being squeezed. This is where the actual conditions are being driven by global trade practices. And in contrast to this, I think the fair trade movement's a vision of what an economy can look like. It's also a voice for producers, because at the heart of all of those enterprises is the key stakeholder of the farmer, the worker, the artisan, people who are given greater power and voice and extract more value from their labors. It's a community of social entrepreneurs, and those social entrepreneurs are, again, a stark contrast to the mainstream business model of maximizing profits and extracting profits for owners of companies. Setting up a business in that alternative way, whether it's a cooperative or a social enterprise, gives a very different set of priorities to businesses. But we're not just business, because we're also a movement. Around the world, we march, we advocate, we campaign, we build awareness, we run educational activities, and we go on climate strikes, as we did in Peru. We have fair trade towns, as Izmir is on its journey to being one of the first major cities, but also the first in Turkey to be a fair trade town. And I'm extremely proud of the innovative work going on in Turkey, especially in Izmir at the moment. We have World Fair Trade Day, the second Saturday of every May, where internationally the movement comes together and says, look, we are a proof of concept of something happening. But also behind this, there's a market. There's a fair trade market that is driving the success. And that is built on solidarity between consumers, producers, social entrepreneurs, workers, farmers. Around the world, over the last 3 decades, we've built huge awareness in the US, UK, Germany. Awareness of consumers for fair trade has risen in very consistent ways year on year, and sales have increased as a result. There is a real demand from consumers to have products that are sustainable. People know that the mainstream model of production and trade is driving so much of the poverty, inequality, and the ecological destruction that we are seeing around the world. At the heart of it has been this huge global network of fair trade shops, over 2,000 of them around the world, who are run by communities, run by volunteers, are also going to great lengths to make sure their products are fair trade, and they're educating consumers around fair trade, whether it's the over 700 shops in Germany, the Weltladen Dachverband in Germany, or the Artisan du Monde in France, in Netherlands, in across various countries, the Oxfam shops, the 10,000 Villages shops in the US. They become points of not just sale, but also education and consumer awareness raising. These are a core part of our global movement. And to sort of wrap up a little bit, there are various systems within the fair trade world. Ours is the one that is very much about bringing together both the commodity and the certification side with why the business exists, the social enterprise side of the ledger, looking at the purpose of a business. So looking at whether the majority of profits go to the social mission. How is the board structured? Are they really representing workers, farmers, artisans, and communities in their board structures? And is the mission built into the business model? Those questions, I think, are increasingly important, that triangulation of mission and structure, the practices of trade, and then the impact that you have on the ground. That triangulation is something that allows a whole host of other aspects to come through. We did a bit of research on this that we launched at the beginning of last year in Geneva at the UN, And what we found, and we worked with the University of Cambridge, York, Stockholm Environment Institute, and the NGO Tradecraft to look at this, what we found was that for 92%, they were reinvesting all their profits. We also found that the majority of the leadership was from women, and that for 85%, they were actively sacrificing financial goals sometimes in order to have social and environmental goals. And what was critical was that they were 4 times more resilient. They were 4 times less likely to go bankrupt than regular small, medium enterprises. That's not because they made more money, but that's because they persevere longer. They're embedded in their communities. They exist for a particular purpose, which means when times get tough, they don't fold easily. So the women's leadership is absolutely pivotal here as well. In a world where we need to rebalance gender issues, we are seeing a huge amount of fair trade enterprises led by women. The majority of boards, CEOs, and senior managers are all women. And critically, we're seeing a huge interplay and cross-fertilization between fair trade and ecological awareness as well. Huge amount of this is happening in organic farming models, handmade, natural fibers. It comes naturally when you build a business with a mission at the heart of it, whether it's a cooperative or social enterprise, you end up you end up supporting and promoting models of enterprise that work for the entire community, so that you end up having ecological practices that maybe a regular profit maximizing business would not bother with, but because you're led and run by your community, it unblocks all of those. So that was a bit of a rapid tour. I hope it makes sense. And I'm extremely proud to be with all our friends, and especially the Mayor of Izmir, Tunç Soyer. It's an absolute privilege to have presented this to all of you. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Congratulations. Another big applause. I remember this when I listened to these presentations, there was a world which was saying the bigger, the better. And there was another world which was small is beautiful. And I think we are making this combination that the more we increase those who say about small is beautiful, that we make the bigger impact. And I think that's one of those organizations, that World Fair Trade Organization, who is making this dream to turn into reality. And I'm very happy that when you show the slide, because we are based in Bonn in ICLE. Fair Trade International is one of those international organizations based in Bonn. Bonn and İzmir mayors are leading in the ICLE Global Executive Committee. And we just heard a couple of days ago, İzmir is also opening İzmir hubs across the world. So there's a lot of opportunity that I think that can be now kicked off from this discussion. But now we have to go back to Turkey. And in particular, as the last point you mentioned about the role of women leadership. And I'm delighted that now we will immediately answer or hear a response from İzmir, from a passionate woman leader, Neptune Sawyer, representing İzmir Cooperatives Union of the producers. And I'm delighted to hear your experience, Ms. Sawyer. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I was really impressed by the previous speaker. He connected me to the meeting. And hello, everyone. And from İzmir, but I'm at the moment in Gaziantep. So we had a small-scale producers meeting, and we have been here for 2 days. And I would like to mention that we have such nice cities in Turkey. And in İzmir, it started in 1960, the small-scale producers, because when we look at the land structure, there are in many parts. So there can be like producers, like they have 5-hectare lands or small scale lands as well. And this cooperative story that woman and man hand in hand started in 1960, the village producers, small scale producers cooperative, and the president is a woman as well. And I'm really proud of that. And we in the fields, in the farming fields, we are putting the dishes on the tables of the people. And for a long time, it has been also mentioned, and the awareness has been increasing, that the small-scale producers If we cannot feed ourselves in the places where we are born, then we cannot have a battle with drought and with the poverty. So in Izmir, we have like 100 cooperatives, and we are a roof institution of many producers. And what kind of point of view on small-scale production. Every year, there are millions of people who cannot have access to food, and we know that they have been getting ill, and many of them die. And is it a destiny? No, it cannot be a destiny, and we need to change that. And we need to be in solidarity in order to avoid that. Sustainable, fair, if we want this kind of life, basically, fundamentally, we should be in harmony with nature, and we should not forget that we are a part of nature. And there is a magic sentence in Anatolia, and we villagers like it. When we are sprinkling the seed to the land, we distribute it to the tree, wolf, bird, and to people. We know that we have to share this seed and the production with birds, with nature. So we need to have our own right. And all of the other components in the nature should have their own shares as well. So, and we should be careful how healthy we are producing. And when every day sit at the table, we know that all the living organisms depend on that table, and we need to question, we need to share if we are sharing, if we need to question if we are sharing what we produce with others, with other living things. So the key thing in that, the organization of small-scale producers, and this is, of course, this solidarity is called cooperatives. And these cooperatives are really important keys in struggling with poverty. And cooperatives are just means, they are not the aims. And the aim of their organization is that the people who do not have the means to reach something, they should get together and then reach to that aim. So for hundreds of years, in solidarity, the cooperatives have been producing, and nobody should deny that it's a very fair system. And in the world, the existence of cooperatives for thousands of years have shown that this is one of the most important ways of producing all together, and it's the spirit of helping each other. And for thousands of years on Anatolian lands, because if we share it in a fair manner, then the small-scale producers, all the villages producing all together, if they are guided with the correct policies by the governments and also by being educated, and women and men sitting at the table at a common ground, they should have solidarity tables, and as I mentioned, they should also be educated. And the cutting-edge technologies should be used, but also listening to the nature, hearing the nature should not be ignored, and the human beings should be also heard. And thank you for giving me the ground and the floor. Thank you very much, and my best wishes to everyone.
We thank you a lot, Sawyer. Actually, this is particularly very, very also touching. For a long time, over the past couple of decades, there was this sentiment that the that the individualism was praised as the era that everybody should step onto those of the others in order to raise higher. But the spirit of collectivism, cooperatives, has been ignored for a while. I think the conditions of pandemic, the conditions of this Sustainable Development Goals, the spirit of a world connected with technology, with these networks, have brought together once again the value of these cooperatives, collectives, and that urban and rural communities could see each other as their partners, not their competitors, but really the partners, and that the role of the metropolitan government or district governments and the producers, that they are part of the machinery and that connected to their global partners. I think this is the right moment of our zeitgeist. This is the time that we are now making our time, and then we are trying to seize this opportunity. And I'm very happy Izmir, Antep, and across the world now you're making a leadership on that. So this is a fantastic contribution. Congratulations. So I think now we will have a video, as far as I know. In fact, we have discussed about many different networks, but now we will hear from a global institution, the World Bank, and let's hear how they are responding to those efforts. That because these institutions are also have been feeling the pressure that they have to change their tactics or their strategies and then be more cooperative. And I think this will be one of those messages that we will hear from the World Bank. I'd like to invite the organization's team to help me to show the video if possible.
Mayor Neptune Sawyer, distinguished key speakers, and participants in today's dialogue. I would like to start my intervention by thanking Mayor Sawyer for inviting the World Bank to join this dialogue and present my congratulations to the Mayor for his leadership and outstanding vision and commitment around building Izmir as a green municipality and making the food systems approach a core pillar of those efforts. Perhaps Mayor Sawyer will recall that we had the opportunity to meet about 2 years ago in Washington, D.C., when you highlighted the importance of climate action for your city and its citizens. This dialogue is timely, as it comes at a critical moment leading up to the UN Food Systems Summit in September 2021, where the World Bank is actively engaging with partners to seek game-changing solutions on financing for sustainable agri-food system transformation. Competing and increasing tensions between the needs of people and planet have created the imperative for an agriculture and food system transformation that benefits the health of people, our economies, and the planet. The importance of food systems for the climate agenda, in terms of both mitigation and adaptation, has led the World Bank, including agricultural and food systems, as one of 5 priority sectoral transitions for supporting climate action, along with energy, transport, urban, and manufacturing. Also, ongoing circular economy assessments are highlighting the opportunities to significantly reduce the environmental footprint of agriculture through more efficient and sustainable uses of inputs, as well as reductions in food waste and packaging. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our food systems to major shocks, with impacts felt particularly by the poor and the most vulnerable. So responding to this challenge will require leadership from governments, researchers, the agri-food industry, and consumers to make the bold changes in how food is produced, processed, and consumed. Accordingly, as a global agri-food power and leading supplier of a wide range of agricultural and food products to the world, Turkey's efforts to build a sustainable, climate-resilient, and inclusive agri-food sector could have tremendous impacts, not only on the livelihoods of the more than 5 million people involved in agriculture directly, and the many more linked to food-related activities within Turkey, but also on local and global consumers and the planet as a whole. For example, the agriculture sector in Turkey contributes 12% of greenhouse gas emissions, and it is a large user of water and energy. It is also highly vulnerable to climate change, with local pressures coming from persistent droughts and water scarcity. And of course, consumers and local citizens are increasingly demanding healthier foods and reduced pollution from agricultural production and processing. Local pressures have highlighted the critical role that cities play in accelerating the agri-food system transformation. A vibrant urban food economy represents a tremendous business opportunity for generating jobs and livelihoods, both in urban and rural areas. However, cities face a set of increasing food-related challenges, from rapid urbanization and loss of skilled rural labor force, leading to a large concentration of poor consumers facing food security challenges. Urban expansion, if not managed carefully, can result in loss of valuable cropland and peri-urban agriculture, which is a leading source of nutritionally important fresh fruit and vegetables for many cities. A range of proactive approaches can be adopted by cities to accelerate sustainable agri-food system transformations. From traditional single approaches, such as supporting sustainable procurement of healthy foods as part of school feeding programs, towards more integrated approaches, bringing together a set of solutions, such as incorporating food approaches into urban planning, more directly targeting consumers to influence food choices or facilitate access to healthy foods, improving food chain logistics and marketing, supporting urban and peri-urban agriculture, influencing supply chain developments by supporting farm upgrades, and supply-demand coordination. These are just a few of the possibilities. Along with local pressures, external demands could also play a pivotal role in accelerating the agri-food system transformation. For example, the European Union's Green Deal and its Farm to Fork strategy have generated an important discussion on trade and investment risks and opportunities. These developments are not specific to the EU, as most leading economies worldwide are considering similar green plans. These developments imply challenges, but also opportunities for collaborative engagement around knowledge generation and sharing, and a common innovation agenda around promising solutions, such as nature-based approaches associated with agroecology and regenerative agriculture, or agriculture 4.0 solutions based on precision farming, smart farming, some of which will be discussed in today's event. Izmir agriculture is an example of a proactive approach to these emerging challenges and the opportunity of an agricultural and food system transformation that can work for both people and planet, generating new jobs and providing a healthier diet while reducing the use of water and conserving biodiversity. Let me share with you now some of the ways that the World Bank is helping to support a sustainable agri-food system transformation. As mentioned earlier, we have embedded climate into the World Bank's DNA by turning every operational support we do in the world into an opportunity for transformative action. Recognizing that agriculture and food systems are a big part of the climate problem, being both a major contributor of greenhouse gases, up to 29% globally, and extremely vulnerable to the negative effects of climate change, we are committed to ensuring that our agri-food operations depend on climate outcomes. For example, in the livestock sector, an emission-generating sector and highly affected by climate change, we are increasingly embedding climate action into our operations to achieve triple wins: productivity, higher resilience, and better environmental performance. This includes nature-based solutions, such as sustainable cattle ranching projects in Colombia that promote silvopastoral systems, or broad sectoral approaches to adaptation and mitigation across the beef value chain, such as the Kazakhstan Sustainable Livestock Project. Our projects in Uzbekistan and the new one that we are preparing in Tajikistan also aim at supporting policies, research, and advisory systems to support the sustainable transformation of the horticulture sector. We are focusing our efforts on leveraging other flows of financing for the food system, including we are engaging through an innovative technical assistance program to support client governments on how best to understand the trade-offs inherent in rethinking public policies and expenditures in the agricultural and food space, and seek opportunities for redirecting such support in a manner that more effectively delivers on our shared vision of a healthy economy, healthy people, and healthy planet. An even bigger opportunity is the trillions of dollars in private sector finance that actually runs the global food system. Our private sector arm, the IFC, is working around leveraging the power of private and financial sectors through a suite of existing and innovative new instruments. Generating and disseminating knowledge is also a key pillar of our strategy to support the agri-food system transformation. Particularly relevant to this dialogue is a recently published document discussing the opportunities around supporting what we call rich, reliable, inclusive, competitive, and healthy food urban system. with a focus on Asia, providing relevant insights for other regions as well. As a final message, I'd like to share with you that achieving a sustainable transformation of our agri-food system is possible, but it does require, first of all, localized solutions. Global practice examples and experiences will provide valuable insights, but nevertheless, it is key to recognize that the sustainable agri-food transformation will require local strategies that vary according to the available natural resources, local production capacity, population needs, and existing infrastructure, among other factors. Policies and solutions anchored in science and local contexts that acknowledging global economy and supply chains often rely upon give us the biggest opportunity to generate health for the people, the economy, and the environment. Also important is collective action from all stakeholders. This includes all of you participating in this dialogue today. Accordingly, I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity to join you. I look forward to having the opportunity to follow up in person in the near future, and I wish everyone a very successful dialogue. Good day.
We'd like to thank Mr. Schönerberger, the Regional Director of World Bank, for his valuable input. And in fact, it fits perfectly the discussion we're having, that those individual initiatives or local initiatives, how it fits to this UN summit that we will be all contributing to. And I think his vision was also giving us how we can really make ourselves relevant for this effort. And in the next minutes, I will now continue with my colleague Peter, but before handing over to him, I think one of the good things that is really coming up is with the summit is that it is not a food summit. It's not an agriculture summit. It's a food system summit. And that is really the opportunity that we are seeing, the shifting of those system approach, that instead of silo thinking much more holistically. And that's why, for example, for a long time, food and cities would not be connected to each other. Now we are saying that we are not the consumer, but also the producer together as well. Or it's thinking of that, the rural communities, how much they're urbanized, who is urban, who is rural. These discussions are really changing in this era of connectedness, technology, and all these global efforts. So we listened a bit more to the details from the World Bank system part, but now we will go to Peter to hear what ICLE is doing in the towards Food System Summit that Izmir is part of, and I'm sure you will find some resonance from the speech from the World Bank, because some of the commitments that ICLE is mobilizing will be very relevant. Peter, I also would like to address to all panelists that Mayor Sawyer has to leave the session, but I'm informed his colleagues are in the session. They're taking notes. Any inputs would be, of course, conveyed to him. We could definitely understand the busy schedule of the mayor. I also would like to address some inputs that we are receiving from the audience. For example, Yücel Efe was referring to saying that it's how nice we are virtual, but the photos that Ms. Sawyer has shown from across the world, across rural and urban, let's say, landscape is making us feel that we are a part of nature. So I think that was also a nice comment. So we'll try to voice your inputs to the extent possible if you can type in the chat box. And now I hand over to my dear colleague, Peter. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Yunus. Teşekkür ederim. Merhaba. It's really a pleasure to participate in this global dialogue. My name is Peter Franceschi. I'm sitting here in Brussels. And though I am Italian, I'm missing Turkish food. I think it's also fair to say that in a European context, Turkey is quite outstanding in terms of the food landscape. And I'm talking about food and not football. And when my Turkish mother-in-law comes to visit me in Brussels and we go and travel around, she's often shocked and says, but here is a food, where are the little units, where they sell food? In Turkey, at any time, you can have healthy, let's say, food, unprocessed, unpacked food. You can have your soup at midnight, at 2 o'clock, at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I think that is also quite something that is different and missing here a lot. Either you go to a restaurant or when you are on the highway, it's rather really junk food. So, and it's really a pleasure to be in a conference with Mayor Neptune Sawyer, which I had the pleasure to invite several times also to Brussels. At that time, he was the mayor of a smaller town, and already it was quite, he was quite visionary in the way he would transform at that time the small town. And then I thought, okay, is this really all true? Because it was really quite outstanding. And I thought, okay, I travel next to Izmir to see it myself. And as I was there, I remember on a Sunday morning, suddenly I hear lots of women laughing, chatting, and they were rolling not the cubanos, but the sarma, the rice, you know, in wine leaves. And later they would open their houses and sell the products. And I would see the organic food market. And I thought, wow, that's how empowerment can look like. That's how urban food system transformation, as we love to mention it in many European projects, could be. So I see the mayor also brings this vision now to a much bigger scale. It's like exponential growth with in a city of 4.5 million inhabitants. And I'm very glad that we as ICLE are closely collaborating with the mayor on that. And also now that I'm intensively working with the team and see the strategy, all I can say is really chapeau. Now, Yunus talked about ICLE. ICLE is a network of cities. And I think where we distinguish ourselves from others is really that we are not have just the huge ones, but also the very small ones. And that is a fine difference because most people and issues, also the FAO statistics, are happening in the small towns. And if you look at Europe, most of the cities and towns are below 50,000. And we are really looking in a systemic way on all the issues of urban sustainability. That's also different. And as you can see, we are a bit everywhere with our offices. So if we hear a good story in Izmir, we may take it to a next conference to the mayor, I don't know, of Tokyo. And if he's has a good story, we will share it with a Mexican town. So this is, I think, the beauty of facilitating and sharing and growing together. The food system dialogues, I don't get too much into it because it's quite huge and I must say to a certain extent also a mess. But being part of a global network of cities, I think we cannot ignore it and not participate because it's in cities that most of humans live. It's in cities that more than 70% of the food is eaten and wasted. And we can simply not leave it up to national governments, UN bodies or other experts to just decide what food systems should look like in the future and in the next 10 years. So we are engaging with FAO in a partnership and we have more than 26 cities who have independent dialogues, 15 of them in Africa. And also there, I was very happy to know that someone from Izmir participated, for instance, in an independent dialogue in Nairobi. Just for you to know that right now, there is also another independent dialogue going on in Tunis. And the mayor is also there, very engaged, Madame Suad Abderrahim. And it shows the power also of the Mediterranean. And all these dialogues, they have important results. And as Yunus already said, we will take these results also, feed them in the UN Food System Summit. The outcome of the UN Food System Summit will be a statement of actions. And currently, after all the input of game-changing solutions, we are now at the stage of the cluster solutions, which means cross-cutting issues. And we made sure that through these dialogues and also by nominating successfully, indeed there are UNFSS champions, Don Sawyer from Izmir, but also the mayor of Kelimani, we can also feed in with a strong voice. We're also part of the Urban Food System Working Group of FAO with other city networks to strengthen the voice and the input. So we hope really that our solutions will be brought on board. ICLE works in 5 pathways. And for time's sake, I don't go in each detail, but it's about systemic change. And if you see, they can be applied all on food. You know, low emission, it's about less food waste and more plant-rich food, nature-based development. It's also the topic today, how to have food that is good for planet and people, equitable, very important. I learned a lot of the independent dialogue in the US about the issue and the huge problem about equitable food access. Resilient development, I think that also links to what Neptune also mentioned, Sawyer, about the resilience. How can we be resilient if there are no small farmers around and social cooperatives? Now, one game changer solution, as they call it in the jargon, is that we bring forward on behalf of cities is school feeding and this food procurement. I call it the power of the public plate. Or you could also say that in one lunchbox, you actually can address all the sustainable development goals. We also work a lot on farm to fork, which is more European policy, and make sure that it doesn't go in all sorts of direction, but really with tangible results. But particularly with school feeding, we believe this is something that can address all the SDGs, and is so powerful. Because if you think about school feeding, all children go to school. There are schools everywhere. And the other day I talked to the director of the World Food Program, the homegrown school feeding program. She said because of COVID, they lost, I think, 70 million school children. You know, when the schools are closed, this has such an impact on food consumption. But it's also linked to culture. And I think that was also the mayor of Izmir, Neptune Sawyer, mentioned, you know, that the species there, it's not just about apples, it's about the apples that are there. And Turkey is so rich. I know the best figs are for Mula, and there's a lot of fight about where this best one or that best one. But it's about the culture and the children knowing where does the food come from, and the children knowing how to cook unprocessed food. For me, what struck me last week was this news from Financial Times, I guess you also read it, that according to an internal report of Nestle, they said according to health guidelines, 60% of their mainstream food is not healthy, and most of it will never be. So you tell me these children that will soon be leader, if they don't know where the food comes from and how to use unprocessed food, the future will not look that good, and also the sustainable food system transformation will be different. So here we try really to push for a cross-cutting solution that in every school there is sustainable, healthy school feeding and procurement, leaving no child behind. And currently we are quite lucky. We also just won a huge project that I led, a EU project where we tried 12 EU member states to work on more than 3,000 schools, impacting 600,000 children, to do exactly that, not just school feeding and then back to education, but really link it to food education and use the transformational power of children and the network. You know, they go home to the parents, they have grandfathers, they have friends, and it should be that cool children know how to cook and know where the food comes from. I'm already at the final slide. I think the title is also very, very, very good, because we are also working with the UN Environment in a project, and according to one of their latest reports on food value chains, the outcome was that neither farmers, particularly small ones, nor consumers really have a choice. And I think exactly this strategy that Izmir is having, this is about creating much more choices. Choices for farmers who can participate in this guaranteed purchasing scheme and grow and raise species that fit, you know, to the territory, that are resilient. And on the other hand, consumers having the choice to eat that food. So it's really about reducing the distance between two, about resilient food systems, and about closing the loop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter, both giving us the perspectives of how ICLEI is connected to the Food Summit, but also how holistically ICLEI is addressing this. And this also eases my work. I'm not the only one who is presenting about ICLEI, but I didn't want to call it, but after hearing your presentation, while Erdinç and Şahan, Erinç, Şahan and I call ourselves as hemşeris of İzmir, you are our enişte, so we are very proud of having such a friendly colleague and dear friend like you. This is showing partly it's due to also the Mediterranean, I think, blood we have, and I think one of the good thing that we have to be once again proud about Izmir hosting this event is that these dialogues that are in fact is volunteer initiative from the UN that is encouraged for all the stakeholders and national governments. There are several national governments also taking place. We are hearing some things will happen also in Turkey, but this is the first dialogue in Turkey. So it's ICLEI and Izmir also opening this process to the Turkish stakeholders. So this will hopefully impact to the rest of the discussions in Turkey and then connect to the world. So we have discussed a lot with Europe. We have discussed a lot with global institutions. We will change slightly our radar towards to the eastern part of the world. I'm expecting our colleague Makiko Yanagiya to join us from Japan, from Satoyama, to present how Satoyama Initiative, which is also connected to the nature-friendly development or nature-based solutions or nature-based living. So the floor is yours, Makiko. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to your intervention.
Thank you so much. This is a really great opportunity, and I'm very, very honored, even virtually, to be here. And the initiative by the Izmir is very, very encouraging. So very, very good to know this. So thank you so much. So today I'd like to introduce the Satoyama Initiative in the context in our food system. So let me share my PowerPoint. So I think now you can see this. Yes, here we go. Yeah, so the Satoyama Initiative, we are working for the biodiversity, so the sustainable use and the conservation of the biodiversity, but our focus area is how to promote landscape approaches for management of socio-ecological production landscapes and seascapes. We are pretty much focusing on the human and the nature interaction. So we are also based on the idea of, let's say, we are part of nature. We are one of the elements of nature. Because of that, we believe that we can support the biodiversity while providing humans with the goods and the services needed for their well-being, and mutual benefit between production activities and the nature conservation. And the socio-ecological production landscape and seascapes, we call SEPLUS, is most of the cases, the SEPLUS is formed by the dynamic mosaics in our habitats and the land uses. Because these mosaic landscapes is developed by the long history between nature and the local communities. So our initiative is deeply linked to the local culture and knowledges. There are a lot of evidences all over the world that the SEPLUS can contribute to the biodiversity, or sometimes even great examples of SEPLUS management even enhance biodiversity. So, for instance, this is the case in Japan. The forest management for timber development. This field, you can find the more species than no management forest. And so also other cases, this is also from Japan, but the cases at the rice paddy ecosystem, the local NGO could find more than 7,000 species in the rice paddy ecosystems managed, the managed ecosystems. So we believe that there are possibilities that human intervention even can enhance biodiversity, and it is a great hope for the future. We have a partnership for the Satoyama Initiative. So this is because we know there are a lot of great examples in our such kind of like surplus management all over the world. So we think it is important or useful to share those examples and knowledge. So we developed this, established this initiative in 2010 at the occasion of CBD COP10. And now we have 271 member organizations. And so we have a website of this initiative, and you could see the case studies we have all over the world about the great example of surplus management. And we have, I think, more than 200 examples. So, and this, the data is open to everyone. So please visit. And also, you are very, very welcome to become our members. We do not request the membership fees, just please like submit to the application. Yes, and sorry. So our initiative is mentioned in several CBD decisions, but like I would like to skip this. And I'd like to explain about the current and the future activities under this partnership for the Satoyama Initiative. So as I said, we have a lot of case studies from IPC members. So based on that, we annually develop the publication. It is called Satoyama Initiative Thematic Review. And this year, our theme is Nexus among Biodiversity, Health, and Sustainable Development in Managing Surplus. And so this publication comprises 11 selected case studies from IPC members and a synthesis chapter that summarize the findings of the case studies. And so we have such kind of knowledge. So based on that, we also contribute to IPBES. For the policy and capacity development activities, we have Satoyama Development Mechanism Project. This is, let's say, a small grant program for the local activities for IPC members. And the outputs of this program also contribute to the, sometimes contribute to Satoyama Initiative Thematic Review. We also developing the manual on application of landscape approaches to, fourth NBSAP. The NBSAPs is required by the CBD. So every party needs to develop NBSAPs. So we are now working together with the Secretariat and CBD to promote landscape ideas, which is also contributed to the production sectors to think of biodiversity. And also we are now developing a new project on OECM. This is about the other effective conservation measures. I will explain a little bit later, and OECM and the surplus. And so through these activities and projects, we are trying to contribute to the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, SDGs, and also UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. And so I said OECM, so let me, maybe some of you know the OECM, but let me explain a little bit. And the OECM is one of the measures of area-based conservation. So this is introduced for the first time at international setting in 2010 at IT biodiversity. So IT biodiversity target 11 is about the area-based conservation measures. So classical area-based conservation measures is about the let's say, protecting the areas from human activities. But at this target, besides the protected areas, other effective conservation measures is introduced, and parties are encouraged to protect 70% of terrestrial area and 10% of coastal and marine areas by protected areas plus other effective conservation measures. So what is the other effective conservation measures then? So, and this is the areas, not just only for the protection of nature, but the activities of human being will contribute to the biodiversity conservation. So such areas is recognized as OECM. So this area is with associated ecosystem functions, and also cultural, spiritual, socioeconomic, and other locally relevant values. So what we are doing for Cyprus is pretty much related to these OECMs. So we are now trying to seek the opportunity, how we can contribute to OECMs, encouraging the IPC partners. Another great international momentum is ecosystem restoration. So this starts this year. I just started June 5th. And I would like to introduce, maybe some of you knows well, but like farmland ecosystem is recognized as one of the ecosystem under this momentum, under this decade campaign. We are now trying to find what kind of things we can do for members and others based on our experience and knowledge on surplus management. So I couldn't know today. I couldn't know the great activities of Izmir. So I think Izmir's activities can be played up more like through this OECM and ecosystem restoration. And if there's anything that the Satoyama Initiative can help and support Izmir's activities, we are very, very happy, and you're very, very welcome. And thank you so much for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Ms. Yanagia. Thanks for the valuable contribution. Just the bridging again, the process and institutions. ICLE is actively involved in the biodiversity process. Cities with Nature is recognized by the UN Secretariat, and Izmir is one of those members of the Cities with Nature process. And ICLE is the global partner of the ecosystem-based restoration. And as I said, mentioned, Mayor is in the Biodiversity Advisory Committee to the CBD, to the COP that will be convening this year in Kunming. So there's a lot of opportunities. I'm very happy to hear this cross-fertilization. Happy to connect my colleagues in the Cities with Nature also to your initiative so that we can see synergies rising up. So first of all, I was so happy to listen to all the presentations. I forgot to make a fantastic management of the time. I've failed, I must confess. So we have one more speaker, Mr. Michele Rumis from Slow Food International. I would ask, if possible, for the organizers that we can extend the plenary 10 more minutes so that we can listen from Mr. Rumis as well. I'm sure it's not fair to the workshops. During this presentation, maybe you have seen on the chat box that there will be breakout groups after the finishing of the session from Rumis, Mr. Rumis. So we will encourage all the participants to join one of those and choose one of those sessions. I will announce the names once again after the speech of Mr. Rumis. And I hope this would be acceptable. And I apologize for Mr. Rumis for my bad management of the time. So the floor is now to Michele Rumis from Slow Food International.
Thank you, Yunus. I know it's always a hard task, that of being a moderator. And the truth is that it's impossible to stick to the time limits we get. But anyway, thank you very much. And of course, thanks to the Mayor of Izmir, Mr. Sawyer. He has been a long supporter of Slow Food International, and he has been thoroughly working to shape food systems across Turkey and on the Aegean coast in an amazing way over the past years. So I'm very happy to participate in this preliminary dialogue towards the UN Food System Summit, although it's also my duty to reaffirm that slow food, together with the civil society mechanisms and many other civil society organizations, we have decided to decline any official involvement in the summit that will be held in this autumn. Because although, of course, today is a remarkable initiative, again, I'm very happy for the panel, the quality of the panelists and the ideas that have been brought about. We believe that the summit itself is in a way biased towards a model of food that we cannot endorse. We have followed its preparation and we know that unfortunately the summit is not building on the legacy of the previous World Food Summits, and which in a way resulted in the past in the creation of innovative, inclusive and participatory governance mechanisms involving civil society and others. Now the UN Food System Summit promotes new governance with a prominent role for the corporate sector, and we are afraid of that, and doesn't take into account the power imbalance, the conflicts of interest, and the lack of accountability of these actors. So I really hope that this idea that you are pushing forward, all of you, will be actually then found the reflection into the results of the food summits. We fear it's not going to be the case. But anyway, this said, let's go back to the title, Building Natural Positive Food System to Combat Poverty. First, I think it's important to, what do we mean by when we talk about combat poverty? Well, from a food perspective, we know that there are still about 8.9% of the world population, which is about 700 million people who are today undernourished and who go to bed with not enough food in their stomach. And this is, of course, a stunning figure. Even more if we consider that the world's farmers produce enough food to feed 1.5 times the global population, which means there's enough food to feed 10 million, as Mr. Sahan has said before, well said before. We are overusing resources and under-delivering. But in a way, if we produce more food than we actually need, but we have people that are undernourished, this means that in order to combat poverty, our problem is not insufficient production. It is actually an even distribution of food. So while the big industry, and that's the very core of the problem, asks for more yield productions, for more patented GMOs, to increase yields, to in a way push for further deforestation, increase in environmental exploitation, our problem is actually not related to the quantity of food we make. It's actually about access to food and the way it is distributed. There is one more key element to understand this global picture. Over 1/3 of the food we produce worldwide goes to waste. And this is not only unacceptable given the figures we said about hunger and poverty, it is also unacceptable because food waste contributes dramatically to climate change. And we repeat this figure all the time, but if food waste was a country, it would be the 3rd world contributor to climate change. So we can say in a way that hunger is the result of food systems that are not fair and neither clean. And there's one additional consideration. More and more, poverty is not only the risk of being undernourished, it is actually the risk of being badly nourished. In 2016, more than 1.9 billion people were overweight around the world. Our countries will soon be spending more to cure food-related diseases than to fight hunger. And why is that? Because today the poorest have the higher risk of accessing food of poor quality. And this is why, as Slow Food, we believe that food should be good, clean, and fair, and that good, clean, and fair food should be accessible to everybody. And let's now focus on the first part of the title of our panel, Natural Positive Food System. What does it mean? Well, the truth is that we have inherited diverse food systems at any latitude and climate. That was the result of complex interactions between man and the environment. Over the course of our histories, Our ancestors have domesticated breeds, varieties that best suited the local conditions and have learned a successful way to process these products and make them last longer. We have developed skills and know-how to process these products and produce incredible artisans. This incredible cultural and food biodiversity heritage, in a way, has been largely ignored by the food industry when building the modern food systems. And it is getting lost at an amazing pace, a terrible pace, actually. And yet these systems can offer a lot of the knowledge and resources needed to produce food in a wiser way, less resource intensive, more climate friendly, and equally important, in a process that is owned by the local communities. We cannot talk about, it's like two sides of the same coin, right? So the environmental sustainability and true participation and ownership by local communities go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. That's why probably we are struggling so much today. This is why at Slow Food, we are committed to saving the cultural and food biodiversity heritage of our communities. Biodiversity allows agricultural systems to overcome environmental shocks, climate changes, and to the point even pandemics. It provides ecosystem services that are essential to life, like pollination, for instance. It allows the production of food with a minimal impact on non-renewable resources such as water or soil, and with less need for external inputs that are costly and harmful to the environment. So if we are to building natural positive food systems to combat poverty, then we need to place local communities and their cultural and food biodiversity heritage at the center of our policies and strategies. And this is exactly what the municipality of Izmir is building, is doing, is trying to do. And of course, we have endorsed these efforts in the past. We're endorsing it right now. As Slow Food, we work every day in over 160 countries to help precisely local communities defend their biodiversity heritage and make it an engine for sustainable development. We have been doing, of course, this also throughout Turkey over the years, through our farmers markets, through our projects, helping small-scale farmers to safeguard their food heritage. And also, there's one very nice project we have developed together with Doderne in the indigenous landscape of the Aegean coastal region to precisely to safeguard these indigenous landscapes and use the olive oil that is therein produced as a tool to further incentivize the people to protect, and the local farmers to actually protect this amazing landscape they have. So it is precisely with this in mind, with this level of cooperation that Slow Food, together with the mayor, Mr. Tunçer İzmir, we are now working to establish and to launch a Terra Madre Anatolia event next May in Izmir, precisely to bring together all these communities from across Turkey and the Mediterranean and give them voice and showcase their food heritage and make them proud of what they're doing so that we can also reinforce their need for their voice to be heard and for a change that needs to happen pretty fast. So thank you very much once more. And I hope it was brief and short enough in my timing, and good luck with the breakout session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rumiz. I think that was a fantastic wrap-up of the session from a consumer and citizen engagement perspective. I'm also very happy to hear your critical views. We were aware some expressions like that, and I think Peter is here on behalf of ICLE, who is in connection to the summit, and Mayor is in the Champions Network. We're also in touch with the civil society representatives, for example, Marie-Claire from the youth NGOs, so that we can at least convey some of your concerns in the preparations and our follow-up. And I'm also very happy that this discussion here will not just finish with the summit, that it will feed into Terra Madre and other initiatives. So a fantastic wrap-up, let's say, closing remark for this first plenary. So I'd like to make a couple of announcements. I see now already a number of exchanges within the audience and the panelists. My dear friend Baha has already asked a question to Makiko Yanagia, and she responded. There was also a question to the World Bank on the process that World Bank is doing. I would encourage my colleagues in the Secretariat to help convey this message. So in a couple of minutes, we will conclude this plenary. Before I would like to announce the breakout groups. The first one will be on fair food systems with nature-based solutions, which will be moderated by Koray Velibeyoğlu. And the second will be innovative peri-urban food systems, moderated by my colleague Peter. Both of them will be Turkish English translations available, so please don't forget to choose it. And I think the audience will be immediately split into Zoom features on the breakout groups. I would be handing over from now on to the management of the workout groups, but on behalf of ICLE and also in my capacity as moderator, I thank you all. I was impressed with all your interventions, and I'd like to congratulate, of course, Mayor of İzmir. I also would like to congratulate the staff of İzmir Metropolitan Municipality. I also commend Güven Eken, the chief advisor, and Onur Eryüce, who are the brains and masterminds behind both the event, but also the supporting to the mayor and the staff of the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality with their vision and passionate work. So I'm very delighted to continue to work with them. I'd like to thank the interpreters for their support in making us connected to each other. And I'd like to declare this plenary is over now and wish you the best of luck. After your 45 minutes or so breakout groups, you will come back once again to the plenary to hear your views, but I will not be able to join you at that moment. And congratulations once again, and we look forward to conveying your outcomes to the UN Food System Summits. And thanks very much. It was a great pleasure to join you, and many thanks for your invitation for me to moderate this session. I hope I could do my best in that limited time, and time management, of course, is a challenge always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for all.
Shall I leave or shall I